Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, August 28th. We are damn near at the end of the month already. It's going to be September here in a couple days. Just checking in with you guys, see how everything is doing. Today we got some housekeeping items we're going to cover, talk about what's coming up in the next couple days, couple weeks, and then we're going to talk about change, keys to creating change. So most of us right now, we know there's a lot of change going on in the industry, and that change has been directing us. So I want to give you some little tips and tricks to help you to create the change that you want in your business and your life, instead of allowing the change that's happening around you to dictate the things that you get. So that's going to be what we're talking about today. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. All right, housekeeping items. So today, first of all, today at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., Kate Rossi with Anywhere Brands is going to be giving a talk basically on agent engagement, how to generate, how to create, how to win listings, how to build business. It's going to be a great talk. She does this for the entire Anywhere brand. So you'd think that they hire some really good people to do that. So she'll be in South Tampa at 10. She'll be in Apollo Beach at 2. We don't know if we can Zoom either one of them. The RSVP was out. Please RSVP if you can make it today at 10 a.m. in South Tampa, 2 p.m. in Apollo Beach. That's first off. Second off, starting tomorrow, Thursday, the 29th, we'll be doing office hours. Office hours are going to be a open Zoom meeting. So it's going to be on the personal ID of the training room. It's going to be opened up at 1 o'clock. It's basically 1 to 1:30. If it goes till 2, goes till 2. That's fine. It's basically open coaching call. You jump on, let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about if you have questions. That way, if you can get some of them out of the way, we can have some open discussions. You hear a little bit about what everybody's going through. That'll start tomorrow, 1 to 1:30. It's going to be led by your management team. Also, we've got a lender with the Dolan Group, Paul Dolan. Great guy, great presenter. He's already done a class like this online. He's going to be coming in person to do a class next Thursday, not tomorrow, the following Thursday at 11 a.m. He's going to be live in the training room, but we'll also Zoom it out. He's doing the 12 ways to cover a commission gap, where only one of them involves you reducing your commission and compensation. So he's going to talk about it from a lender perspective. What are the lenders doing? How are they handling these things? How are they managing? What are they saying to borrowers? How are they qualifying borrowers? And what are they doing in instances where there are commission gaps? So they'll be talking about that next Thursday. I'm going to have an RSVP go out for that as well. Excuse me. Now, really quickly, before we jump into the other topics, concessions. We did have a concession field in MLS. That went away yesterday. Stellar MLS no longer allows concessions. That was removed yesterday. So they removed the box for concessions. They removed the amount of concession box. So you cannot put yes or no. You cannot put in an amount. You cannot put a percentage. Can't put any of that into the MLS using their fields. The only thing that is now allowed is you can write into the public remarks the dollar amount, not a percentage, the dollar amount that you are authorized to offer from the seller in a concession. Public remarks, seller is offering $5,000 towards buyers, closing cost, prepaid items, whatever you want to put in there. Just not compensation. So you can put that into the public remarks. You can also put it into the realtor remarks, dollar amounts. Also, you cannot put percentages in anywhere, whether it's related to compensation or not. Seller has AI that's going through and scrubbing all of the listings. They're looking for, if they see a percent sign anywhere in your public remarks or your realtor remarks, it's getting flagged and you're getting automatically fined. And then we have to go and appeal that to get that removed. So just be aware of that. If you have something percentage-wise in there, it's going to flag it. Please take that out. So no more concessions in the MLS. All of those fields are gone, but you can write in dollar amounts. Let's talk about a couple things that we're seeing. We'll breeze through these. We just had a contract submitted. I don't want this to happen to you. We just had a contract submitted. No buyer broker agreement, no compensation agreement. The agent is not someone who has been engaging. Somebody has not been on any of the classes, not understood it. They've heard of some changes that were happening, submitted a contract, wrote an offer, did not get a compensation agreement, submitted the MLS form, like the MLS data form, not data form, the the copy of the MLS listing, put it into the loop like we've always done before because it said what the compensation is, but they put that in page 2, no compensation on there, no buyer broker agreement. You're not getting paid. You need a compensation agreement of some kind. You need a buyer broker agreement. Those are required right now if you want to make sure that you get paid. So after further discussion, finally get a hold of the agent. We have a buyer broker agreement. Buyer broker agreement, no compensation agreement. So I said, is the agent offering compensation? Well, I would hope so. Whoops. Well, do you have a buyer broker agreement? Yeah, I know I have to have one of those. Okay, so you just put your buyer on the hook for paying us the compensation. Uh-oh. That's not good. No, that's not good. We got to call the agent and see if they'll sign a compensation agreement and if they're offering compensation, even though we're already under contract. Not good. So we got to be doing these things up front. Make sure we get documentation in place. Luckily, it was a professional on the other end. They were amenable to the conversation and they provided a compensation agreement. It all worked out, but our buyer broker agreement was filled out incorrectly. The buyer broker agreement, we put in that the buyer was going to pay us the purchase price of the house. Make a number up, $650,000. Buyer pays compensation in the amount of $650,000. Let's go. We got to get better at this. We got to pay attention. We got to make sure we're reading our documents. So that did happen. Make sure it's not going to happen to you. Pay attention. Offer instructions. We've had some listing agents putting out there, buyer representation form must be submitted with an offer. You're going to see agents doing this. They can ask for whatever they want. They have no right to the form. So they have no right to our buyer representation form. Just like we have no right to their listing agreement. So if somebody says, I require you to present that with an offer, you tell them, I require you to present me with your listing agreement before I submit an offer. It's the same thing. You have no right to my contractual form between me and my buyer, just as I have no right to your contractual form between you and your seller. Show me what you're authorized to offer and I'll show you what my buyer's paying. Well, no, you show me what your buyer's paying and I'll show you what I'm authorized to offer. Makes no sense. So they can do that. They can ask for it. We just do not have to provide it. Here's my stance here. If you're getting 3% from your buyer, why create another issue? Why create another discussion between them? Why create that problem? I'm getting 3% from the buyer. It really doesn't matter. There's nothing that he's going to give me that's going to hurt that in any way. So I don't agree with providing the form, but if we're getting 3% from the buyer, what's the issue? Let's just go ahead and submit it. Let's get the job done. Let's get them to offer the compensation, hopefully in the amount of 3%. So that is happening. Can they do it? Yes. Is it required? No. Present the offer anyway with the compensation written into the additional terms. They must present all offers. So let's just present the offer and make sure it gets in front of the seller. If they say, well, I'm not going to present it until you send that. Well, you can't make that decision. You have a duty to present all offers. Unless your listing agreement says, I will not present any offers without a buyer representation form, which you have no right to, then you are violating your agreement with your seller. We also see this listing agent saying, yep, I'm offering compensation. Nope, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to keep that a secret. My opinion doesn't make sense. We have a listing agreement with the seller. We've discussed with them about how it's in their best interest to influence a buyer, a marketing tactic to make sure we get the most amount of buyers. Why would we not tell them what we're trying to do with the influence on them and the marketing tactic? Doesn't make any sense to me, but some people are doing that. If they're doing that, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be dependent on the offer. Okay? We're showing and teaching you should get the 3% from your buyer and let your buyer know that we're going to be negotiating that. Here's what they said. They're not offering anything. It will be conditioned on our offer. So we're going to make an offer and I'm going to ask for them to compensate me the same amount that you are going to be paying me. Okay? Can they do it? Yes. Is it smart? My opinion, no. Doesn't make sense. If we are authorized to offer, if we do not offer that, are we in violation of our listing agreement? Look, we're not the listing agreement police. I'm just letting you know we should not be doing that. If we are authorized to offer, we should be offering it. We are seeing other people say, remove all compensation from the offer. I don't want any compensation in the offer. Okay, well, you didn't give me a compensation agreement, so I have to put it in the offer. Well, I want you to attach a compensation agreement to the offer. Put check other and attach the compensation agreement. I don't like it, and this is why. Compensation agreement between seller and buyer's agent. Contract between seller and buyer. I think it creates some issues potentially. So the reason why we do that, here's what we're offering. All right, we'll remove that and put it in a compensation agreement. We'll sign it. Well, we need the compensation agreement signed before we write the offer. I don't want your seller holding back and not signing the compensation agreement, but signing the offer. Well, if it's checked other, it's contingent on that. Yeah, but we made a form that the buyer and seller do not have to agree to because it's between the seller and the buyer's agent. Buyer and seller don't have to sign that form. The seller signs the compensation agreement with the buyer agent. The buyer doesn't have to. So we made a form attached to the offer that the buyer doesn't have to agree to. I don't know if that holds up. That's just, it's an opinion, but with all these changes, I just want to be 100% clear. I don't want to create any ambiguity. So that is something that we're seeing. But I won't give you a compensation agreement either. Don't put it in the offer. We do have to put it in the offer. So don't fall for all of those other things that are going on. What about this? I'm a seller on the seller side. I'm only wanting to offer 1%. I want to see what their offer is before I agree to give anything more. Can they do that? Yes, 100%. They're well within their rights. What we are hearing from Florida Realtors and Florida Legal is saying that if a seller is not 100% clear that they want the compensation offered, like not authorizing you to offer it, they should check no compensation being offered. Like if he says, I'm willing to pay 1%, but I really want to see what their offers are before we even offer 1%. The checkbox in your listing agreement should be box C, no compensation being offered. Okay, these are just some of the things that we're seeing. Wanting to make sure we discuss these with you and tell you about that. All right, so to our topic for today. Let's talk about keys to creating change. We have so many changes going on around us right now. If you allow, these are going to take control of your thoughts, of your emotions, of your mind. They're going to dictate your actions. They're going to create fear. You're going to operate from fear and scarcity rather than certainty and abundance. How do we create change? How do we create that change? How do you make something happen? How do we inflect some more energy into something to make sure that we take the action and get the result that we want? This is really the ultimate question for anything in our life. How do we create that change? And I would ask you this simple question. What has caused you to make a change in the past? What is it that caused you to make a certain change in the past? What made you decide to get your real estate license? Because you weren't just sitting around one day, oh, I think I'll get my real estate license. Let me sign up for the course. Let me see it through 63 hours of classroom and test, and then go spend more money to take this, and then go do that. And then I'm just going to talk to some broker. You didn't just do that. You didn't just randomly decide. Something happened. Something came in. You identified that there was an issue. You identified that there is a problem. You identified there was a gap. You identified a shortcoming. You identified something was missing. First, you were aware enough to identify that there was something going on, and you acknowledged that there was something going on that needed to change. That's the first step. Acknowledge that there's something that needs to change, especially when it comes to your business. You need to identify that right now you are not operating with 100% certainty, showing up the way that you need to, and you are not creating the level of business that you want because of all of these changes creating fear and not knowing what I need to say, how I need to say it, what am I going to say to the seller, what am I going to do with this buyer, how do I handle how do I do this, how do I do that? We are not identifying that there's that is the issue right now. We're not identifying something, whatever that is. So the key to creating change, the first thing is identify and become aware that there is something that needs to change. First step, just to be aware of it, because awareness gives us flexibility. Flexibility will allow you options. Options give you the power to make a different decision, which is the second step, is to decide. We need to be able to make a decision. We'll get back to those. Sorry, there's a couple questions. I'll make sure we get back to those. So you need to be able to make a decision. The reason that you haven't created the level of business that you want is because you didn't make a solid decision that that's what I want, that's what I'm going to do, there's no other option. There is not enough pain associated with staying the same. There's not enough pain with being in the same place you are right now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now. Because when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of taking the action to make change, that's when we make decisions. That's when we change. That's what it takes. We have to make sure that there is enough pain associated with being in the same place that I'm in right now. That's the only thing that's really going to push us to make a different decision. And sometimes it's a very simple process. Other times it takes a lot of pain to really get us, especially when there's something we really don't want to do. And there's a lot of pain associated with making the change. For us, is there a lot of pain in our mind associated with cold calling, with door knocking, with calling 20 people a day, talking to 10 to 20 people a day? Is there a lot of pain associated with that to some of us? Yes. Is there a lot of pain associated with doing the things that are required to live the life that you ultimately want? For a lot of us, yes, there's a lot of pain associated with that. And right now, the pain of being in the same place in 3 months from now isn't greater than that pain of picking up the phone. So we have to find ways to associate pain and pleasure with making the change. Pain with staying the same and pleasure with making the change. So when the pain of change becomes greater than the pain of staying the same, only then will you change. How do you get yourself to make a change? How do we get ourselves to associate a different level of pain with staying the same rather than taking the action? Ask different questions. This is what ultimately drives us to make a decision. Ask better questions, get better answers. Get better answers, make better decisions. So if you're wondering why you haven't made a decision or taken action yet, just look at the questions that you're asking yourself. You're asking yourself something to the effect of, oh, what's going to happen when I make all of these calls and somebody asks me a question that I don't have the answer to? What's going to happen when I get hung up on 3-4 times a day? What's going to happen when that seller tells me off, tells me to never call them again? What's going to happen when I do all of these things and still don't have the same level of business that I want? What's going to happen when I do this and get no results? Those are the questions that you're asking yourself. So we need to shift and ask better questions. Ask yourself something different, like, what's going to happen when I show up and I achieve all of the things that I said that I wanted? What's going to happen when I sit down this month and make all of the calls and contacts that I said I'm going to make, and I create those 4 listings and 2 buyers that I know that I wanted? What's going to happen when I have the confidence and certainty and make those calls with the scripts that I've already learned and discuss with them their options, and they like me and we get into a contract together and I create the ultimate business that I wanted? Ask better questions, create more certainty, get better answers, and make better decisions. So you have to identify there's an issue. We have to then decide. Ask a better question to create a better decision. Make sure that we have more pain associated with staying the same. And if I don't do those things to create that business and get that listing, I'm going to be in the same place that I am right now. And this is the feeling I associate with that. I'm not going to be able to provide this benefit to my family, to my kids, to this, to that, to the other. We have to start creating the ability for us to make that change. Right now, we're being dictated by changes happening around us. I need you to make these efforts to become the creator of your life rather than managing the circumstances that keep coming to you. So identify there's an issue, make a decision. Once you make that decision, now we have a different process that we have to put in place. I made a decision. This is what I want. I feel certain about it. That's not going to be enough. It's going to be enough to get us to take the first steps, but it's not going to be enough to drive us through all the factors that could come up. What are the factors that are going to come up? The first challenge, the first rejection. The change that you're making is in a different pattern than you've done before. You haven't done that before. You have a habit for how you do your business. You have a pattern for how you show up today. You're going to be showing up different. And what's going to happen after showing up different for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days, your brain's going to kick in and say, hey, we don't have to keep doing this. We were fine the way we were. I know we didn't have all of those things, but were you really that miserable? Was it really that bad? And we always find a way to get back to the comfort zone that we are not so comfortable in anyway, but the devil we know is better than the devil we don't. So we find ways to get back to the safe place that we were in rather than keep doing the same things that are going to get us all of the outcomes that I don't know what those outcomes are going to be. I haven't created that side of it yet. So the next step is to know your outcome, know your reasons why, and then we take massive action. Know your outcome. After you make a decision that I'm going to take this action, I'm going to do these things, we got to know what we're after. What are we after? At the end of this quarter, what are we after? At the end of next year, what are we after? What is the outcome? Specific, measurable, attainable, real and purposeful, and time sensitive. So there's a plan you can create. It's called an RPM plan, a results-oriented, purpose-driven, massive action plan. Know your outcome, know your results, know your reasons, know your purpose, create massive action. If we create the reasons, reasons come first, how comes second. Know the reason, know the outcome, know what we want. What do we want? I want, by the end of this year, what do we have? September, October, November, December. In the next 4 months, I want 2 listings per month, 1 buyer per month. That's going to be 12 more deals by the end of the year, 12 more deals. Be very specific, 2 listings and 1 buyer every month between now and the end of the year. What do I want to earn? If that's going to be 12 deals, I know my average check is $10,000. I want an additional $120,000 in gross commission in my bank account. Brought in to my business. An additional. What else do I want out of that? Specific. Can I measure that? Do I know if I hit my 120,000? Do I know if I got my 2 listings and my 1 buyer every single month? By the end of the year, time sensitive, by the end of this year, by December 31st. Is it attainable? 100%. There are plenty of people doing 3 deals a month. That is not the issue. Is it real and purposeful? Next step. Why are we after this? What's the reason we're doing it? If I put myself at the end of this year achieving all of these things, what does it look like? How happy am I going to be? How certain am I going to be of myself? Where's my confidence level going to be? Who stands to benefit most from me showing up as this person and achieving all of these things? What's Christmas going to look like? What's New Year's going to look like? What's it going to look like when I start checking boxes off of my goal list and goal sheet that have been on there for years? How would that make me feel? How grateful would I be for myself showing up today to achieve that outcome? Know your reasons why. Reasons why are not, well, because it'd be really cool and I could pay all my bills. That's not enough. We need to start associating your reasons why to the bigger purpose in your life. We're not after 100,000 pieces of paper, $100,000. We're after the feeling it's going to give us, the financial freedom that we will have, the ability to do the things that we want to do, that freedom, that flexibility, then to be able to spend the time with our family, with our loved ones. What's that going to feel like when we create that? Those are the drivers that are going to keep pushing you. When that 30-day mark comes up, the breakdown or breakthrough moment where you are sitting there saying, you don't have to do this. We were fine with our 1 deal a month. We were okay that way. I mean, we weren't doing everything we wanted, but was it really that bad? No, absolutely it was that bad because I know how much more I have inside of me. Look at everything that my family, my kids are going to gain from me showing up as this person. Look at what I'm going to do by doing this. Look how I'm going to feel. Look how much more confident I'm going to be to take other actions outside of business. We need to create stronger reasons. So know your outcome, know your reasons. And then once we create all of those things, we've identified that there's an issue. We've made a decision that we're going to change. We've created enough pleasure with taking the change and pain with staying the same. Now we start creating the outcomes that we're going to be after, do the reasons why and have purpose in there. Now from that point of knowing the reasons, the purpose, and having all of that emotion inside of us, we start creating the action. See, the issue for most of us is that we decide from a point of uncertainty. We decide from a point of not knowing. We decide from a point of not having clarity. And what type of decision are you going to make when you are unclear of your outcome? When you have no emotional attachment to doing those things? When it's going to be easier for you to stay the same than it is for you to take new action? What type of clarity are you going to have? What type of decision are you going to make? Not very much clarity. And when you're uncertain of yourself and your actions, you make uncertain decisions, and those decisions are going to get you the same results that you've been getting. So we need to create enough certainty, enough emotion, enough drive, enough clarity in our reasons and our purpose, because those are the easy things to control. And from there, that's when we decide what actions we're going to take. Because I know if I filled myself with enough of the reasons and the outcome, I'm going to earn this much more income by the end of this year, $120,000 by the end of this year, getting 2 listings, 1 buyer. I'm going to service my community. I'm going to do this, create all of these specific actions. And this is why, because I know the life that I'm going to live and my family will have this, and I'll be able to give my kids that, and I'll be able to feel so certain I'm going to be the best dad, I'm going to be the best spouse, best this, best that. And these are the feelings that I have, and that's the person that I am. And I could see myself standing there at the end of this, looking back and saying, I'm so proud of you for doing that. What action would I need to take today to get there? And that action is I would need to sit down and call expireds for 2 hours every day between this time and this time until I talk to at least 10 of them, at least 10 of them, and scheduled 1 appointment a day. I would need to mail to my farm once per month. I would need to get the phone numbers in my farm, and I would need to call them once per quarter. I would need to do just listed and just sold inside. We just sit down, and all of a sudden, all of the actions come right out, and we know exactly what we need to do to create that outcome from that level of certainty. When we make decisions from certainty, they are more clear, they are more direct, they are more certain. When we make decisions from uncertainty, we make a decision of, I think, maybe, I might, I should, and we don't get the same outcome. So if we're looking for change and we're looking for ultimate results, this is what you should do first. Let's create that level there. Then, as we say, I'm going to create these massive action, I'm going to take massive action, these are the actions I'm going to take. Now we just need to understand that taking these massive actions, as I do these things, I am taking new action. And if everything that I do is a pattern and a habit, everything is a pattern and a habit. I know I have a habit, a pattern of doing business the way that I've always done it. So as I show up to do business the new way, it's going to be exciting for the first week or two because it's new. Just like your new car is exciting. You got that new car, it's exciting. What happens in 3 months? I still love my new car, but it's not as exciting. You know what? I mean, I love this thing, but I wasn't unhappy with the old one either. I love my old one. It just starts to wear down, and we fall back into the normal pattern of just driving to work. It's just a steering wheel and a shifter and a seat. It's not the same. We don't have the same emotion, the same attachment, unless you create that. So if I know that my patterns are going to try to keep me in the old way, I have to be ready, willing, and able to interrupt some of those patterns. I know if I continually do things the same way, I'll get the same result. So I need to interrupt the pattern of what I'm doing. Easy ways to do that: use your body, your focus, and your language. Your 3 biggest tools are your body, your focus, and your language. If you don't feel like doing something, change your body. Get out of the scenario that you're in. If you're inside, go outside. If you anybody ever gone and worked out and walked out of the gym and be like, whew, God, I really wish I didn't do this today. No, when you change your body, you actually start releasing different hormones and sending different signals from the brain to the muscles, to the heart, to your lungs that says, oh, we're doing something different. We have to make a change. That's why we have patterns for emotions that we feel. Depression, our body does this. Our brains do that. We start saying these words. We have patterns for all of those things, so we need to interrupt those patterns. Use your body, use your focus, use your language to interrupt some of those patterns. And I'm making this very quick and easy. If you want more help with this, let me know. We'll sit down and help you with it. But we need to know that we need to change those things. We need to interrupt the old patterns. When we interrupt the old patterns, you're scratching the CD. So when you put that old pattern back into place, there's a skip in it. And you're like, oh, and you don't get into that flow of the old way. And once we do that, the next thing you do is you need to pull the old CD out, and we need to replace it with a new pattern. We need to create new systems for how we create results. So we need to have something already spelled out, knowing take massive action. Here's the action I'm going to go. Here's the things I'm going to say. Here's this. We need to create some other intention statements. We need to create not necessarily affirmations, but just intention statements, because your brain is going to take over and say, you're not good enough. You've done this enough. This guy's not going to answer. He's going to yell at you. You're going to get rejected again. Oh, here we go again. The intention statements behind that are, I know when I show up at the best version of myself, I can call anybody anytime and have a great conversation with them and discuss and influence them to give me a shot. That's a hell of a lot better than the statement your brain was already going to say to you. So we need to identify, interrupt, and replace. That's the pattern. So if we want to create change, here is your keys to making change. Let's go. Yeah, thanks, Jen. I'm on fire this morning. I'm on fire this morning because I've noticed that I fall into these same patterns just like everybody else of not creating the results that I want. I do the same thing that everybody else does, but I have the skills and tools inside of me that I forget about just like everybody else. So I know that I'm not getting some of the results that I want in my life, and I had to sit down and really face and identify that that's what's happening. I'm not doing the things that I should be doing. I'm not showing up as the person that I should be showing up as. I'm not doing all of those. I'm not doing this. I'm not showing up like that. All of the things that helped create success before in my life, I am not doing. So if I had a pattern for success and I'm not doing that pattern, but I'm hoping to get success, it's pretty simple. Identify, interrupt, and replace. Let's identify there's an issue, interrupt the old patterns. I would do this. I'd go home and I'd sit down. I would hit the snooze button instead of waking up. I would question myself on the way over to the gym, and I get to the gym. I do a half-assed workout. If you're doing those things, now we just identify and replace with something more powerful. Replace that with a more positive. I don't hit the snooze button. I wake up in the morning. I meditate right away. I walk. I go through my gratitude. I go through my intentions. On the way to the gym, I picture the body that I want. I see myself lifting, pushing, and doing everything. I walk out of the gym, grateful, chest out, head up. I change the patterns. It's just as simple as changing your patterns. Once you identify that everything we do is a habit and a pattern. And it's very easy to prove and very easy to help with. All is well, everything is going my way, even when it's not. Nothing good ever comes from living in your comfort zone, 100%. All right, we're a little over time. Let me just go, a couple questions. If we send the agreement with the offer, however, are trying to negotiate concessions from the seller for a buyer, if we show them the cards, wouldn't that not be in our client's best interest? Andrea, yes, I completely agree with you, which is why I wouldn't want to send our buyer agreement stating this, that, and the other. I would want to negotiate all of those terms or get the compensation agreement up front. Would you say it's important to limit your decisions to only a few to ensure the options aren't overwhelming? Nick, I think it's important to create the emotion and create the reason and the purpose. And when you have enough reason and purpose, it doesn't matter. But yes, if you're someone who may tend to struggle with falling back into patterns, start with a few small ones because we build momentum. It's much harder to get the ball rolling, but once it's rolling, it's easy to keep it going. So if we make one or two small decisions and small changes, for most of us, that's going to be more beneficial. But when you are really on fire and you have everything that you need and you've made all of those decisions and you have all of the reasons and purpose and they're strong enough, because what does a reason do for us? I've said this before. If you ask me to run, go ahead. I want you to run 10 miles. The average, or let's make it easy. Let's run 5 miles in 50 minutes. That's a 10-minute mile. I would have trouble doing that. I'm not a long distance runner per se. I don't typically run long distances like that, so I would struggle with that. Let's say you're going to do 5 miles in 7 minutes. I'd have a hard time doing that. No reason for me to do it, no purpose for me doing it. You put a gun to my kid's head and say, run 5 miles in 35 minutes or I blow their brains out. I will run it in 30 minutes and I will have enough energy left over when I get back to beat the ever-loving piss out of you for doing that. That's reason, that's purpose. When you have a strong enough reason and purpose, anything is possible, it doesn't matter. But if we need to make smaller decisions and do some of that, we get momentum, we build the momentum, and we get the ball rolling. So absolutely, yes, 100%, Nick. Also consider lowering the bar to make your goals more attainable. Exactly. Sometimes making one decision and doing that is much better than trying to do 28 things all at once. Can your seller offer a different compensation to the buying agent than they offer to the listing agent? Can your seller offer a different compensation to the buying agent than they offer to the listing agent? They already are. So the listing, I think if what you're saying is, can they offer something different to the buyer's agent than what's in their listing agreement? Yes, as they can do that. What the listing agreement says is you authorize me to do this, but if you tell me that you want to do something else and you dictate that to me in writing so it's provable, I can offer whatever you tell me to offer, but I'm authorized to offer 3%. But if you come to me and say, hey, I know this guy said he wants to write an offer. I saw the Ring doorbell, heard them talking. I only want to offer them 1% for this buyer. If you authorize me to do that, then yes, I can do that. So I think that's what you're asking. So Tanya, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Great read. 100%. Very great book. All right, guys. Happy Wednesday. Lots going on. Like I said, classes today, 10 a.m. in South Tampa, 2 p.m. in Apollo Beach. Tomorrow, office hours, 1 to 1:30 to start with. Open discussions, free coaching calls. Hop in, open coaching. So hop into the Zoom call tomorrow. We'll send an invite out before that, 1 to 1:30. Next week, Thursday at 11 a.m., I'm going to send an RSVP out, 10 ways to cover the commission gap, only one of which involves you lowering your compensation. And from a lender perspective, how they're going to be handling it. So lots going on. Thanks for tuning in. Have a happy Wednesday and get out and make something good happen today.